me calling you, the voice of a mother and a father and a child. Would you recognize the truth? Do you feel the love that's falling from my eyes? Take just a minute, come and rest here by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, it's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels by your side. Do you hear me talk to you? I whisper through doorways and pathways of your mind, clear like the morning dew, and fresh from my journey, cross an ocean of blue. Take just a minute, come and rest here by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, it's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. So we all were listening to this song. Beautiful. It says, let me tell your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second. That's all it takes to realize And that's the story that we will reveal, learn, realize, and understand in this 7 days. Will change your life. It changed many lives. It changed my life. So this is our story. I will start. So first of all, I would like to say thank you for everyone who were waiting for the English session to begin. We started with Hindi and now it's in English. So thanks for your wait. And also please take all sessions. Don't miss. If you miss, then your link will be broken to the next one and you won't be able to understand your story. It's as simple as when you are watching a movie and you just leave 30 minutes in the middle of a movie and you come back and you see everything is changed. What did I miss? And you are not able to connect what happened. So don't miss. But if you are not able to join, then we will be having our recordings available in the channel that I will provide you in the chat in a second. So you can get the recordings in the channel. I will also send the message in our WhatsApp group. So if you miss for some reason, then listen to the recording so that your next session you can understand. So don't miss your own story. So let's begin our Rajyoga Meditation course, day 1. Who am I? It is a very simple question and it's a very complex one. And I say simple because everybody knows who am I. I know who am I. Everybody else know who they are. You know who you are. But it becomes complex when you really don't know who you are. When you think who you are is changed. So like you don't know about yourself, you don't know about the God itself. First you recognize yourself, then only we can recognize who God is. Else, no. So you need to know yourself. So as we forgot ourselves, we forgot what God is. So what do we know about ourselves? Let's just start from there. Yeah, that's how I know myself and everybody know themselves. What my name is, my position. I'm a doctor, engineer, teacher, qualification. I'm an MBBS doctor. I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA. Nationality, religion, gender. So what is this? If you think, and we know that our perception actually is based on these tags. If you know somebody is a doctor, your perception change. If you see somebody is not working, your perception change. Nationality, a big tag. Everywhere there is a bias. If you're coming from America, you are seen differently. If you come from elsewhere, you're seen differently. Religion, the big one. The biggest tag in the world is religion. The whole world, the whole society is divided. If you're Hindu, you looked differently. If you're Muslim, you looked very differently. If you are Christian, you look differently. So you have a perception actually. Without even talking to the person, if you know about these 6, 7 things about that person, their position, their qualification, nationality, religion, male, female, the gender, you will paint a picture, a story about that person, that what kind of person that will be. Without talking to that person. So is that who you are? Now that person is standing in front of you and you have told him his story about knowing all these 7 things about him. And he is gonna be like, you don't know. That is not who I am. Gender has too much. Males can do this and females can do only this. You are a female, you cannot do this. You are a male, you can't do that. So the tags. So the big problem with the tag is it's not about having a tag, but it's about we feel ourselves inferior or superior based on these tags. My qualification makes me superior. My position with the people I'm sitting makes me inferior or superior. Even religion is doing that. Nationality is, of course, doing it. That I came from XYZ country and I am superior than you. Gender, big bias in the society itself. Males feel superior than females just because they are a male. That's it. None. They don't work. They don't have a position. No qualification. Doesn't matter. I am a male, so I become superior. So how? Why? So the big problem that happened with these tags, again, is not about having a tag, but it's about when we start identifying ourselves with these tags, then everything we do is achieving these tags. This is what I want to achieve. And we wanted to get more and more of it, more position, more qualification, more money. People wanted to change their religions, nationality. wanted to be American or something else because they think that makes them better. And it keeps changing. So we keep doing things to achieve these tags and we lose ourselves. That's the big problem. We lose our being, who I am. So if I don't identify myself with these tags, then how do I tell who am I? How do I identify myself? And why? Why shouldn't I identify with these tags? Then we see again the relationships, another big one, being a father, mother, wife, the children. But these keep changing. A child is born in your family and suddenly you become an aunt or an uncle without knowing you have a relationship that is coming to you. And then with that relationship are coming expectations for you that somebody is born. Now there is an expectation that's coming to you. And now you identify yourself and that person is going to identify you as that is my aunt and uncle and he's going to do X for me or not. So back to the question, who am I? If I'm not these things, or if I don't want to be these things, or if I don't want to get lost in these things and do all the things that I don't want to do, then what should I do? Then who am I? As we know, that we'll go more. At this point, I believe everyone knows that they are soul. I am a soul. At least that awareness is there in the world somehow that I am a soul. That is there. But just knowing that I am a soul doesn't do anything. It hasn't done anything. That's the problem. That we know that we are soul. And we do it every day. Like when someone dies, what do we say? We say that the soul has left the body, is gone to heaven. So there is a consciousness in our mind that the soul left the body. And we say it, knowing it, whether we know it or understand it or not, but we do say it. So again, knowing that I am a soul doesn't do anything. It's similar to an example that you know that somebody is working. If I tell you somebody is working as a director in a parliament house, and I said, okay, that's fine. Until or unless you know what does that director do? What's his function? What he can do for me? Just knowing that he's a director in the parliament house is not doing anything for me. I don't know what he can solve for me. What kind of problems, if I get, I can go to him. I don't know. Without knowing, that what does he mean by he's a director in a parliament house? So to get his help, you need to know what his functions are. What does director do? What do you do? So then he tells you, what does he do? That he can do XYZ things. And now you know that he can do these things for me. And whenever that problem occurs, you go to this guy and say, hey, help me solve the problem. So that's how we are when we say a soul. We know we are soul, but we don't know what soul is. And without knowing what soul is, we don't know how to get help, how to have that relationship. That's what we will know today. Not about who am I, but in reality about what soul is. Because who am I? We all know we are a soul. Now, even a kid knows that they are a soul. You'll listen to Sister Shivani, whoever has listened, the whole world has listened almost. Then everybody knew we are a soul. Fine. Doesn't do anything. That's the reason when situation comes, we get stuck. Sister Shivani said XYZ. I know XYZ, but I can't do XYZ. Why? Because I don't understand what soul is. I know what soul, that I am a soul, but I don't understand the soul. So we will understand what soul is. That's the dive that we need to take to make sure we know who we are. Just knowing I am soul hasn't done anything for me. And not for anybody else for that matter. So, again, who am I? My. So there is in our book, it's interesting actually. You know, when I first learned that, it's interesting that in our vocabulary, day to day, we talk about this. We say the right words. My body, we say the right words. My ears, we say the right word. My eyes, my mouth, my hands. We always say my. If it is my, it's similar to it's my phone, my phone, my car, my house. It's mine. I am the owner of this body. My. That's why we say my. If my is this, then who is I? Right? So if you have a phone in your hand, it's your phone, it's my phone. Then who you are? So you are that person. Similarly, if it's my body, my ears, my eyes, then who is this I? One is mine and one is I. Then who is I? That's what the I is. I, the soul. Okay, fair. I know I am the soul. Then what else? What does it do here? Your ears pass on the information to the soul, and your soul hears it. Your eyes are like a camera. You see something, but your soul sees it. Here, the meaning of seeing it means perceiving, understanding. You speak something, your soul tells you what to talk. And we will learn in the next second how your hand touch, but the soul experience the touch. So the soul here, the relationship of the soul with the body. So your body is like an instrument, a robot, right? That it has the ears, the eyes, the camera, the mouth, the mic, hands, that you can touch things, hold things, your complete body, right? But you hear what you hear, even what you're hearing right now, your soul is hearing it. Your soul is seeing on the screen. What I'm talking is what my soul is telling me what to talk. I touch something, experience comes to the soul. But if it's hard to believe, is that really the truth? So here's another example. So when you are very much stressed, then the soul seeking the silence, the peace. It's very easy, very simple to get the silence because it is the outer part. So think about silence. If you have to get the silence, you do a couple things. You either shut your ears so you don't hear, or you either go to the quiet space so you don't hear. You just close everything, shut everything down, and sit outside somewhere in the park so that you can get some silence. But that is just the outer silence that you can get. You can just shut your mouth and you can be silent. But even in the silence, you are seeking for peace. Silence and peace are two different things. The soul demands peace. Soul look for peace. Silence is just a step before you get to the peace. So here, if you think from that example, that your soul is looking for peace, silence you can do with your ears, eyes, and mouth. You can just shut everything down. But to be peaceful, that cannot come by closing your eyes, shutting your ears, closing your mouth, or going to the quiet space. You can go to as much as far in the world, but you can't be peaceful just with that because your soul has to get to the peace. That's the difference. That the peace is received, perceived by the soul. That's how you learn how your soul is different. So as we're talking about the relation between a soul and body and understanding, what soul is, similar to the director of a parliament house. We understood that he's a director from a tag perspective, but what does he do? So a beautiful metaphor is pearl and the shell. So if you take a pearl out of the shell, the shell is thrown, zero value. The shell is only valuable till there is a pearl in it. Similarly, your body is only valuable, and we all know it, till we have a soul in it. As soon as a soul leaves the body, we just burn this body down or bury it based on different religions, or we just do whatever we think is the right thing to do, but we just discard this body. So at the end, the body get discarded, and from our birth till that end, we just take care or work for this body. Interesting. The second is the driver. Why is that a metaphor? So driver sits. He doesn't sit in the back of the car. He doesn't sit in the passenger side. He doesn't sit on the side. He sits where the controls of the car is. Driver has to be seated on a seat where he can control the car. So similarly, soul is the controller of the body. Like we just saw, soul hears it, soul sees it, soul experiences the touch, soul talks. It tells you what to talk, and you just say words from your mouth. That's it. And the other is chariot and charioteer. So the horses are driving the chariot. If we take this charioteer down, either this horse cart is going to just stand, don't do nothing, but charioteer is the one who controls where this horse cart is not gonna go. So these are the like metaphors for a soul, that like soul controls the body, similar to the driver and the car, the chariot and charioteer, and the pearl and the shell. As soon as the pearl gets off shell, shell is thrown. No value, zero. So the soul becomes an important part of the body. In fact, it's more important than the body. So if you take a driver out of the car, or charioteer out of the chariot, and the pearl out of the shell, none of these things have value, zero. They just stand still, do nothing. So the soul is a controller. Like we saw, eyes are a camera, soul sees it, meaning perceive, understanding. Ears, we hear it. Nose, whatever we smell. Soul recognize the smell and tells us. Tongue, the taste. Soul recognize the taste. Skin, experience the touch. So where the soul sits in the body, as you see on this picture, on the center of the forehead. That's the seat of the soul. He's the controller of the body and he sits on the center of the forehead. And the irony is, we do things like that. I'll give you an example. So let's just take a Hindu religion first, right? So in Hinduism, we put the tilak on our forehead. Why don't we put the tilak on the body, in the hands or stomach or legs or wherever, on the chin, nose, ears? Why not? Why do we put the tilak on the forehead? In the Muslim religion, they put their forehead on the floor and they touch the earth. If you have seen the Muslims doing the namaz in the Makkah or in Hajj, wherever, they touch the ground with their forehead. All the body is there, but they touch the ground with the forehead. Why? In the Sikh religion, we go to Gurdwara, we call it the matha tek. So we put the forehead on the floor. We go to temple, we do that, and then we put the tilak. In the Christian religion, we go on the one side and the other side, and then we touch our forehead, and then we kiss. So we do all these things. Why? Why is that forehead is getting that much attention when we are in front of the God? So the very much importance is given to the forehead in every religion. Why? Because this is the sacred place, a pure place where your soul resides. And the reason we do all that, because we wanted to get the energy from that place, from wherever we are in front of the God. We want to get the energy and touch the ground with that purity so that our sacred place, our soul sees that. So we're doing all these things without knowing why are we doing this. And today we understood the reason the forehead became that important is because it's a sacred place of the soul to sit. That's where the soul sits. The position is fixed, similar to in the pearl shell, the pearl position is fixed. It's always in the middle, not on the sides. The driver car is fixed. He always sits on the driver's seat. The chariot always sits on the charioteer. Charioteer on the front, it doesn't sit in the back. Similar to the soul is on the forehead. And that's how and why in all the religions, the forehead gets the special treatment. Whenever we are in front of God, we always feel the energy in our forehead. Now let's back to our original question of, we know that our example that he's a director in the Parliament House, but what does this guy do? So now we will learn, what does soul do? What soul really is. So the soul has, we call it the three faculties of the soul. You can call it three organs of the soul. You call it three functions of the soul. So if you take an example of the director, so we'll see the three functions of the soul. The three faculties of the soul is mind, intellect, impressions. So we have to go now deep into each of this faculty, each of this function, until or unless we know in the deep what happens across these, we will not understand how we can get a help from the soul. So we'll take this one by one, the how mind works, how intellect works, and how the impressions and sanskaras, that's what impressions are, how the sanskaras get generated. So let's talk about mind, how our mind works. Nowadays, we think a lot. The number one problem in the world right now is I think a lot. I cannot control my thoughts. I get waste thoughts. I always keep thinking. I wanted to stop my thinking. How can I do that? Number one problem. People go in depression just because of the thoughts. So man is the mind, called the man. So the mind is one of that organ of a body, you may say, that does the work of thoughts. The mind is the creator of thoughts. The many thoughts that are getting generated, the lots of thinking is going on. A lot going on in our mind, in our inner mind. But who thinks? What do we think? Can we stop thinking? I wanted to stop my thoughts. I wanted to lower my thoughts. I wanted to think good. I want all that. How can I do that? So see, if we understand our soul, how we understand ourselves. That's why, like I said in the beginning, it's very important to understand what soul is. Not I am a soul, that we know, but what soul is. So in reality, what is mind? What exactly it is? So mind actually drives everything. Nowadays, mind is driving us. So what actually it is? So we need to understand this. And to understand this, we need to see inside of ourselves. Why our mind takes us from one place to another within a second. Why does my mind drives me crazy? So you cannot see mind like our eyes, ears, nose, and hands. We cannot see the mind. Nobody has seen the mind. So for that, we have to see deep inside ourselves. This is a subtle organ that we cannot touch. So like we see the inputs, the source of thoughts. What do we think? Why do we think? So the first thing that you see here is sensory inputs. What does that mean? So the sensory inputs are the inputs that we are taking inside through our sense organs. Like we see something, our mind absorbs. We see a bad scene, our mind absorbs. We see a good scene happening outside, our mind absorbs. We see a scenery, our mind absorbs. We see the trash, mind absorbs. Similarly, what we read, hear, our mind absorbs. The sensory inputs are the inputs that we are giving to our mind through our sense organs. Every input plays the role to what I am thinking today is because of the input that I have given. Second is the belief system, the big one. The belief system that I have gained from my family, from the society I live in, from the religion that I am in, from the country that I live in. So there are many belief systems. And that makes another source of thoughts, right? So when you see something, you immediately you interpret that based on your belief system. No, I think it is that because I know it based on what you have learned from your family, from your religion, from your country, from the society you live in. You have that belief system. Third thing is the past memories. And that's the biggest one these days. That how can I stop thinking what happened to me in the past? And that becoming a source of thoughts that is getting generated today. And then there is a creativity, which is the brighter side of it. The creativity of the mind means the thoughts that are creative. We all are creative in one way or the another. We always building something new. Doesn't matter whether it's an innovation, but we always do things differently. I do differently than what my parents did, and you guys do differently what your parents did. So we all have a creative mind. So mind is continuously generating the thoughts based on these sources. So these sources actually are tapping your mind constantly. Sensory inputs, what you are seeing, you see the news today, that becomes the input to the mind that creates 100 thoughts. Belief system, past memories, creativity. So based on these sources, the kinds of thoughts that we generate divided into various thoughts. So one is like a positive thought. What we all wanted to have is the positive thought. So the positive is the powerful thought. It increases the energy of the soul. It increases the power of the soul. But the problem is we don't know how do we generate the positive thoughts when there is a lot going on, how to think positive. So much negativity around us. How can I generate a positive thought? So it has to be triggered. It has to be channeled. How can I channel my thoughts to where I want it to be? And it can be done. We can change the channel, the thoughts to one to another. And we will learn that in our Rajyoga course as we move along. The second type of thought is negative, and we all know. So these are draining thought. It drains the energy of the soul. Majority of the people thinks negative. And that's why atmosphere of the world change. People having fear that something will happen to me or my family, or how I will serve my family, or things happen, that happen, but we can channelize all this actually. And we will discuss that in our later days, in our course, that how can I channel my thoughts, waste thoughts. So these are the thoughts when your soul go in the whirlpool, in the vicious circle, to waste. It wastes our time, it depletes the energy, and with the waste, negativity generates. So if you see here the difference between negative and the waste, negative is different, waste is different. Right? So if you want to take an example for the waste thought is something that is useless. That is a waste thought. For example, I'll just say, if I keep thinking that a bomb is gonna just drop right now here, and that one thought is gonna generate 100 thoughts in me, and now I'm gonna start thinking negative. So that one thought came, that bomb is gonna drop, and that's it. Now it becomes a mother of negative thoughts. And now I'm gonna think everything negative from now onwards. So that's a waste thought. I created one. And then there is a necessary thoughts. So necessary thoughts are the thoughts that are related to our work, our career, for our kids, studies, daily routine. So these are necessary thoughts that just goes important. Like these are not positive, they're neither negative, they're not waste, they're just necessary thoughts. But necessary there's a fine line between a necessary and a negative thoughts. Like you can get worried about your career and it becomes a negative. But you work towards your career, it becomes a necessary thought. See the difference, how a line get crossed, and we cross the borders of these thoughts very slowly. So the mind, the creator of the thoughts, So we understood how mind works. We provide mind the sources. If we can control what we see, hear, read, we can control our thoughts. That's why people say stay away from social media, stay away from the news or the noise. Belief system. That's another problem, that we have perceptions, prejudice, that how that religion is wrong. Past memories. We will learn later how can we get out of this whirlpool of negative and waste thoughts. These are the two that we need to get out and stay in the positive and the necessary thoughts. So the thoughts are actually ingredients to what we do. Now, let's talk about the intellect. So what is the intellect? Buddhi. We call it in Hindi the buddhi. So the intellect, we always link the intellect or the buddhi with the brain. That no, the brain is that, but no, it is not. The brain, you can see, is a hardware part, and the intellect is the software part, the decision maker, the processor. The brain is just a hardware part. Let's see how that works. So the intellect, how that works is whenever your mind actually generates the thought, it gives a signal to your intellect. And then that information, so the mind provides the information that's coming through your thoughts, the information that you have read, listened, looked, learned, your education, you're from a family. That is the information that we are getting. So it just think about like it's a book of information, encyclopedia that is sitting in front of you. That's it. That's your mind. And you turn on the page and you read something. Now, the intellect is going to play the role. It comprehends. How does the intellect comprehends? So it comprehends through what we have learned, through our different sources, the education, the family, again, the society. Everywhere we learned and we created the mechanism inside ourselves to comprehend things, to discern things, to discriminate from one thing to another, to analyze what actually it is, to choose between what is right or wrong. It calculates. So all the things, the mind provides the input, and the intellect is the decision maker as it processes through this cycle of analysis, choices, comprehension, discerning, discriminating, calculating, and then in the end, it decides. So through the intellect, the soul decides whether the thought created by the mind should be brought into action or not. Let's take an example, a very simple example, that how can we separate the mind and the intellect? That's a beautiful example and very simple one. And we all know about it. So the cigarette. The cigarette comes in front and your mind start generating these thoughts. Don't smoke. Bad. And then another thought that comes in the mind is, hey, it's just one cigarette. Let's try. It's okay to try. So see, think about it, right? See how the mind is generating the thoughts. It's not deciding. It is generating the thoughts, the multiple things. Decision is always one. Decision is what do you end up doing. Decision is not information. Information is the source that feeds the decision mechanism of this, right? So now this example, cigarette, right? The thoughts coming in, smoke, don't smoke. Hey, just one cigarette. Come on, let's smoke it. So now how does this work? So if the intellect is weak, if, listen to this, this is very important. If intellect is weak, then your action will be weak. If intellect is powerful, then actions are powerful. What does that mean? That mean in this example, mind is creating these thoughts of smoking, not smoking, it's just one cigarette. Mind is gonna give you 100 rational of thoughts of one side and the another side. So this is the game that mind and intellect plays. Sometime mind wins, sometime intellect wins. So mind wins if your intellect is weak, and then your decisions are wrong when your mind wins. So in reality, your intellect should win. If intellect is powerful, it won't let mind win. It won't put, what does that mean? It won't put the thought into action. So the thought of a cigarette was created by the mind, but if your intellect is stronger, it's gonna win and it will give a decision of don't smoke. And that thought of just one cigarette will merge and it won't get into the action because now your intellect is overpowered the mind. So always intellect should win. And why? Because mind is just the thought creator. Intellect is the decision maker where it decides looking at everything. So if your intellect is weak, your mind wins. And that's the reason when you are thinking negative thoughts, your mind tells you, hey, don't think negative. It is a negative thought. Stop. But you cannot stop. You cannot stop that thoughts. You reach somewhere. In 1 second, you are here, another second, you are there. Your mind is so much occupied with so many thoughts. But if your intellect is powerful, then you can channel the thoughts and you can control the mind. Because your mind is going negative thoughts, you know that it has to be stopped, but your mind is now overpowering your intellect. As soon as your mind overpowers the intellect, it overrules it, and then you keep thinking. That's why we need to learn the Rajyoga. The Rajyoga, what we will learn in the coming days, it's gonna teach us actually how we can channel the mind, how we can control the mind, how we can make our intellect powerful. So that's the difference between mind and the intellect. And now the impressions. As we all know, that impressions are the repeated actions. Like when we keep doing something, if you take an example of this cigarette, right? They start with one cigarette. So the first cigarette, there is always a battle between a mind and an intellect. Mind will say, do it or not do it, give all kinds of thoughts. Intellect will make that decision. And if that decision is weak, the soul is gonna start smoking the first cigarette. What happens is when he smokes second time, then again this battle is gonna happen, but at a weaker note. Should I or shouldn't I? And then he's gonna end up smoking because your intellect is not powerful. And then you smoke second one. Third one, a little bit battle, but very, very low. And when it comes to like a fourth and fifth cigarette, zero battle. There is no need to even go to intellect because now it is a repeated action and it became a habit, a sanskar. So now it became an habit. Now it is a sanskar that so now smokes a cigarette. So it started with first one. It started with the battle of a mind and an intellect. The mind win and the soul goes down the drain and became that habit. And that habit became his sanskar. And that is called impressions. When you keep doing repeatedly something, it became a repeated action. It becomes your habit, a sanskar. There are many kinds of sanskars. So if you see here in the picture, we see sanskars inherited from the family. Like we inherit some things from the family, that how family behaves, works, what does we do, how do we perceive people. That's what we get from family. So we have to very careful what we give to our children's, because they're gonna inherit your sanskars. Second is influenced by peers, of course, company. We all know there's a saying, the man is known by the company he belongs, where he live in. In Hindi, we say sang ka rang. So we learn from our peers, the company we live in, and even if we say the cigarette smoking, it starts from that company, that somebody in your company is smokes, and then you try, and then you get into that. So now you got that company is of smokers. So it's important which company you are in. And then we got the past life sanskars, the past birth. We don't know what we have done in our past birth, but we always seen when a kid is born, some kids are very peaceful and some kids have an actions of anger, crying all the time. Even when we grow up, the kids, some kids get, the sanskar of greed. The parents are not so greedy, but kids are greedy. Or parents are greedy, but kids are not greedy. Why? Because that's the sanskar you received from your past birth, being greedy. And we call that the nature, that's our nature. Or sometimes we call, oh, that's how my kid is. I don't know where he learned this, but that's how he is. Because he is carrying his past sanskars. Sometimes they are positive, right? Because we know about the many examples that we have seen about a 5-year-old child playing a piano. A 2-year-old is reading Gita. How can a 5-year-old playing piano without learning it? A 2-year-old is reading the Gita. So the reality is they are only repeating what they have learned in their past birth. They are carrying that sanskar so strong that it's coming back to them. And there are many examples of the kids doing all kind of things, playing chess. Recently, I learned there's a kid that's playing chess at 3 or 4 without learning it. There was a woman, recently example, there was a woman who lived in somewhere in Spain or something. She got into an accident or whatever. And then she woke up and she started speaking Arabian. Everybody got surprised. What? How did you spot? How do you know Arabian? And she said, I don't know. They did the research. Nobody in her family, in the present family, is from Arabia. Nobody in her family belongs or know anybody in Arabia. Nobody in their neighborhood is from that one where she learned Arabian. And now she's not just learning or telling Arabian or speaking in Arabian. She told them she has a house in Saudi Arabia. That's where the house is, the address, and she used to live with her husband and kids. And the team went there and they saw exactly what she said. So the truth, the past sanskaras, some are very strong, come back. And the last one is the original sanskars of the soul. The eternal sanskars. So these sanskars do not depend on the birth, like how many births you have taken or where you are born, which family. These sanskars are soul original sanskars and always stays with you, but they are merged. So the sanskars are our habits, what we call our nature, speciality. So this is what we will learn. That how to train our mind and control our mind and changing our habits of being angry. How can we change the process of thinking too much? We need to access the unlimited power of the mind, and we will learn everything in this course. How can we channel, control our thoughts? A beautiful example is a handicap, and you can Google it. A handicapped man, he climbed Mount Everest. How? Because controlling the thoughts. So tapping your mind, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. I will just do this very quick because we are over time. So I know everybody, that the question always come about the what is this subconscious mind and what is this conscious mind. So I'll just give a quick example so that you can understand what this is. So the conscious mind is something that we are listening with the consciousness. For example, right now we all are sitting in this class with the conscious mind of we are learning something, or let's get the information. So it's just we are sitting in this consciousness. That's it. It is not doing anything, and we will learn how. So now what will happen is after we stop this class, or after this class is over, your mind, your intellect is now going to absorb the information that you just received. You will ignore some, you will accept some. The information that you accepted in the course today, right? Accepted means that you said, yes, I think that I relate to this. I think this is correct. So I don't think all the information that you might have received, you have accepted. Maybe, maybe not, right? But the information that you have accepted today in the course, whatever that is, a small or everything, that information now is going to move from your conscious mind to the subconscious mind. It's going to stay there. What does that mean? That mean is now your subconscious mind, only thing that stays in your subconscious mind is the information, not the information that you have received, but the information that you have accepted. And that stays in your subconscious level. And this is the play between the subconscious and conscious mind, is when you come back to your actions, then suddenly a thing from your subconscious mind move from that state to the conscious mind, and that it comes into action. So it's a broader topic, and we can take it later, but that's just a quickly, a minute, a pitch on what does that mean? Because there's always a question, what does that subconscious mean? So this is what it means. All right, so we have taken so much information today, right? As we are talking from an hour now more, what can we do with this knowledge? What does that mean? What does this do for me? Right? What does it do for me? Or what should I do from today? Like, once this course is over, once this day is over, what should I do tomorrow? So here is what the exercise is, and we need to try that. That the exercise is, as we learn about our soul, as we learn about Note that just I am soul, what soul is, right? How the mind works, how the intellect works, how the impressions, the sanskaras get generated or born. Having that awareness, we gotta move, shifting our awareness from the body conscious to soul conscious. Comparison has to overruled by acceptance. As we saw in the first slide, nationality comparison. Hey, from here, this doctor or no working comparison, forget it, divides. The body consciousness divide because you're seeing them as that religion or that caste division or that part of a society, that they are a lower part of a society and a higher society. It's body conscious. Try to shift the awareness from the division to unity, slave of desires. So we became slave of our desires. I want this. I want the shiny car, shiny house, money, vacation, everything else. And we go to the limit of hurting people, killing people, just to fill our own desire. We don't care if that person dies tomorrow because of what I did to him. I only care my desire get filled. I don't care if that person go cry in that room, but I'm just gonna shout at him because I am superior. So we became slave of our desires. Cut that out. We need to become master of the senses. What does that mean? That means that we have to have a control over ourselves. The control with the awareness of I am a soul. All right. So whatever action will we perform after this session, we will keep that in mind. Who am I? Not just that, what soul is and how can I control my thoughts? How can I channel my thoughts? All right. So that's the session one. Let's reflect on what we just learned for a few minutes. Let's just sit quietly and think about how I see myself. Just reflect on every information that we have learned today. And that way we can check how and who we are. So let's just reflect on ourselves. So give me a second. We'll take a minute break and then we'll start. Let's just sit comfortably. Keep your eyes open. And let's just reflect on what we learned. And ask ourselves, who am I? Who am I really? Am I this name? This body? Or is there something more to my existence? As I sit in silence with myself, I see myself. I connect with myself. I start to feel, who am I? I focus and concentrate on the center of the forehead. I visualize a point of light in the center of forehead. Just feel the energy touching your forehead. I am this point of spiritual energy. I am here. I am the soul. A point of light. Just feel the spiritual energy. This is who I am. I am the spiritual being. I am eternal. I am gifted. I am divine. Feel the energy coming to you, making me peaceful, as I step into my silence, the world of peace. This is who am I? I connect with myself, my own inner being. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you, everyone. It took more than I thought. But again, I don't want to rush it. I just wanted to